to the RunRX podcast, where we talk about all things running. As many runners know, it's 90% mental. So join Coach Valerie and Coach Caroline as we go through the mental side of running. Welcome back to the RunRX podcast. I'm your host, Coach Caroline, and I'm here with Coach Valerie. Coach, we've been talking lately about like squeezing our glutes, right? And running with your glutes and that sort of thing. And it brought up this idea of activation versus strength training. And can you explain the difference and what do you mean by activating my glutes and squeezing my glutes? What does that mean?
Well, it's so I always laugh because I've been a strength coach for my whole life, I feel like. And when I first got into coaching, it was all about body parts. People even the classes I taught were called like glutes and abs or core, like one body part. And people used to love to feel the burn. Like that was the big thing. Like, oh, I want to feel the burn, right? So we would do like 500 fire hoses or whatever, for our glutes. You're on all fours and you're just pumping. Yeah. And the funny thing is, so what is that movement? Like, what is that pattern? What is that really doing? Is that strength training? What is that? What is that burn, right? And when you're running, and some people will say, oh my gosh, I can feel my legs are burning, right? I mean, it's like a sensation we've all felt it, right? And then it's almost like, oh, it's not working. I don't feel it burning.
Right. I didn't get a workout because my muscles aren't fatigued enough or whatever, sore enough.
So the shift. So for me back then, it was like, okay, we're going to make sure when you leave here, you can't walk. Your glutes are so sore, whatever. Your abs are on fire, stuff like that. And what you realize is I did, the body doesn't really work that way in a sense of like when we're running, let's say running, we use all of our muscles, all 600 plus. So can you imagine trying to like squeeze each one or isolate each one? Or I'm running with my glute muscles, like you're running with all of your muscles. So our challenge is when you strength train, yes, of course, you're targeting muscles and at the 100%, and you're activating. Here's your challenge. Strength training loads muscles, right? That's how they get stronger. You're making them work harder. You're putting them under, whether it's body weight or you do strength training with an added load, dumbbell, barbell, right? All of those are going to ask the muscle to work more than its normal capacity and even to the point of fatigue. So that's like strength training. And the idea behind that is when I do that, then the muscle is going to get stronger because it's having to, work harder. So what is muscle activation? Well, muscle activation is you being able to activate a muscle. And some people like the word squeeze because it's just something we've heard before, especially with the glutes. But with abs, most people think like pull your abs in. So you're actually doing the muscle contraction actively. It's an activation. Okay. So like if I say to you, pull your stomach in, you're actively pulling your stomach in. You're communicating simply to that one muscle and asking that muscle to work. That's an activation. But I wouldn't sit here and say, hey, do 3 sets of 10, and there's your ab workout, right? I'd give you something like a sit-up. A sit-up would be a strength exercise versus a ab activation of either sitting up or laying back and trying to find and isolate just that ab muscle. And why do we need both? Same with glutes. So if you're doing, say, a glute bridge, and I asked you to first activate the glute. So that means you are actually making the muscles contract on your own. There's no load. You're not doing a squat. You're not doing an exercise of any sort. You're just actually using the muscle like it's supposed to be used on purpose. Right? So that's right. And it's important because, again, squeezing the glutes is for you to have a communication with them. But when you actually lift your hips up and down, the glutes work. They know to work. Like they know it's time to work. So that's why you load them, to make them work a little harder. But first, do you know they're on? That's what I like to say. Like activate it. Make sure you actually are using your glutes. I find so many of our runners are not even using their glutes. when they do their hip lifts and bridges. They don't realize it. They're using their hip flexors and they're using their hamstrings. And I'm like, you're not even in the glute. Same thing with learning to run. We teach people to use the actual running muscle that you actually have any action with is the hamstring, and only 10%. And we teach you, of course, how to activate the hamstring. And same thing, I would say 99.99% of runners coming in to RunRX for 24 years, by the way, are not using their hamstring. And they don't know how, and without understanding it. Because how do most people train their hamstrings?
They don't.
But they do, like, if you go to a gym and you're like, I'm going to work.
I guess they'll do like a leg something, like
you're going to do a deadlift.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're like, I do deadlifts. Great. And that is a great strength training exercise, and 100% for the hamstring as a loaded exercise. However, it's not an activation exercise for the hamstring, and it's more of it's a strength exercise. So you're loading the hamstring rather than working the hamstring through its natural range of motion. What does the hamstring do? The hamstring bends the leg. It closes the leg. Right. And back in my day, we had things that were called leg curl machines where you'd lay on your belly.
That's what I was thinking of, the leg curl machines.
I don't think they still have those, but I don't know if I haven't been. But back in the day, that was really it. You could get on the leg curl, right? People would do those leg curl machines. But otherwise, I mean, to be honest, most people don't do that. So there's not that's what we're trying to get you guys to understand, is that the fun part of strength training is first learning how your muscles really work, like activating your glutes. You can do this when you're sitting in a chair, activating your core. These things are really cool to kind of make sure you're working correctly. And so many people, when we talk to them, right, they're like, man, I've got IT band issues. What do we hear all the time? I have my glutes aren't firing.
Yeah.
Right? I have a hip imbalance. I have all of these terms. And we're like, and then we find out they don't even know how to squeeze the glute. They don't even know how to act. Guys, if you're listening right now, see if you can squeeze your right glute independent of your left. You should be able to go right, left, or left, right. You know, it should be that quick, that conversation. Then you can do squats. But the thing is so real quick for runners, why is that important? Well, because in running, you're standing on one leg, balancing your body weight, and you need every muscle to be active and on, and alert, because you're using them all. You just can't isolate them during runs. So we teach you how to make sure they're all working correctly, and then do your strength work on top of that.
And we have that as part of the RunRX method. That is one of the foundational elements that we do teach is strength training for running, to be a better runner. And we do that, and like, you can kind of jump in here. We do that because if you're hurting, we want the skill to correct the movement, but you need the strength to be able to maintain the skill. Is that the best way to explain it?
Right.
That's why I'm always trying to explain it to people.
No, I think it's great. I mean, it's like, you think about it. If you have to, you're going to stand. Gosh, you've just done this recently. Caroline teaches classes, and she'll have to stand and teach for what, hours?
Oh God,
I mean, who has not stood for hours and just been like, oh, my back, my feet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy to hold your body weight upright all day long. So then you want to add running to that, which can be up to 3 times your body weight every step, especially if you're inefficient, right? So of course, that's why you come to us. But even if it's half your body weight, you're still supporting your body weight when you run. And your body weight, if you're holding your line, I mean, we know this, if you're in good posture and you're holding your line upright, so much less stress on your back. So much less stress on your joints, your hips, and everything else. But you're right. So many people struggle with holding their body up, and that's strength. And it's not strength like I need to go to the gym and lift a bunch of weights. It's strength like I need to understand how to hold my own body weight.
Yeah.
That's the foundation of running. I mean, look at the best runners. They don't look like they're in the gym 3 days a week. And I am. But my point is that learning how to just hold your own body weight starts with activating your own body muscles and figuring out how it works first. Then you can, add on. But that's what we see so much is people want to strength train their body parts. And we're like, it's not that your glutes aren't firing. You don't have weak hips. It's just that you're bent over when you run and your lower back's taking it all. So your glutes just aren't able to function.
Yeah,
so that's what
definitely.
we help people with. All of a sudden they're firing their glutes. They can stand up so much straighter, like right away. It's great.
Yeah. And that's really the key, guys, is that there's a nuance to it, I guess, that comes when you train with us. Is yes, it seems very simple, like that's all there is. Yes, that's really all there is. But it's, there's yes, the elements, skill, strength, and self-care, post, fall, pull. But then there's that nuance of how do I do the strength training, right? How do I do the self-care? How do I do the skills to make myself a better, a more efficient runner? And we hate the word better, because what is better? Better is more efficient. Better is effortless. You're still going to have cardio issues, though. I can tell you that firsthand. So, so we hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we're going to be. My dogs are about to start barking because my FedEx guy is going to deliver. If you guys hear it, but we hope you'll join us next week when my dogs aren't barking, and I don't mean that metaphorically, like my feet. So, and we hope you will like and review our podcast and subscribe to it. Share this podcast with a friend. If you've ever had a conversation about firing with your glutes with your friend, or you've heard somebody or read an article on it, and you thought this was really interesting, share it through social media. Let people know what we do here, because we would love to help more runners run pain-free. And if you have a question, reach out to us at support@runrx.fit. That's support@runrx.fit. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for joining us on the RunRX podcast. If you'd like to know more, join us at www.runrx.fit. And if you have additional questions that you'd like answered on the podcast, email us at support@runrx.fit.